Wake up, buyer payer people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhodes on the Buy Here Pay Here morning show. Take it away, you two.
Good morning, everyone.
It's morning. That explains why I'm so groggy.
Exactly. Yeah, it's one of those time zone things.
Yeah.
But, we had a little heart to heart last night about all right, because those of you who know us, we're in Clearwater, Florida right now, and we're already thinking ahead because we're just kind of testing it out, and we have a lease until February 1st. So it's like, well, what do you want to do? And we also, those of you who know us, know that we were in Durango, Colorado over the holiday weekend, and we really love it there. And so it's Mountain Time Zone. We're in Salt Lake right now, and so it's the same time zone. And we were like, so do we like change it to 9 a.m. Mountain, or do we keep it at 9 a.m. Eastern? Because that's like still 2 hours. We typically, yeah. So,
right.
Yeah,
we'll be figuring that out. It's a bit of an adjustment by time zones, but we appreciate everybody hanging in here with us. And some mornings our voices are a little more gravelly, and I think that'll be true this morning. So we had a wonderful night last night. We celebrated the fact that it was 3 years ago yesterday that Michelle and I met. So we had a nice dinner out and took the opportunity to celebrate. And some of you joined us in celebrating on Facebook. Thank you for that. But today, I wanted to share a story that I've shared with dealers here and there over the years, kind of when it comes up in the context of marketing and advertising. I've shared this story. It's a very real story from my own direct experience, both as a consumer and at one point as a salesperson who competed with this operation across town. And I think there's a really important lesson in this. And so I think it's good to know that it's good to know these stories because, I'm in my late 50s, and that means that I was a car buyer in the 80s. I was buying my first cars in the 80s and 90s. And this is about the time that this story about Lynn Hickey Dodge, this dealership, fired up.
Well, and I was a little younger, and I remember seeing, I didn't even live in the area that he was in, but I remember seeing like news spot or something that had something to do with Evel Knievel.
Yeah. There you go. So it's for our younger listeners, you're gonna have to do a quick Google search of who Evel Knievel is. But he was what do they call him? A daredevil. He was the guy who, jumped over cars in Las Vegas and
over a gorge.
He jumped over the Snake River Canyon in a makeshift rocket kind of thing.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Crazy stuff. So
you can,
so he fit with Lynn Hickey.
Yeah. So Evel Knievel has more broken bones than, most of us have bones, but anyway, he's part of the story. But I think the part that I want people to understand is kind of the best way I know to explain it is that this car dealer was like car dealer meets P.T. Barnum or, a circus kind of character. And they definitely created a circus kind of environment and it worked. And I want to be clear right up front. I'm not advocating that people necessarily, try to become a circus environment in their business, but you can still take bits and pieces of the Lynn Hickey Dodge story and be able to apply that to your own business and in marketing and
principles,
sales.
Not exact actions. But
So for those of you who just want to decide whether you want to stay tuned and hear the Lynn Hickey Dodge story, one of the things I used to hear about them, and I used to work with a salesperson who wore jewelry from the time when they were at their peak. And he said when they were doing their high volume, they used to have 80 salespeople on the floor on a Saturday morning, and they would line them up, and anybody that wanted one could get a shot of vitamin B12.
I don't know that's like.
It's hard to believe, isn't it?
It's hard to believe, but
I'm just getting started on the hard to believe stuff. So I think it's an important thing to understand about this particular operation. So let me back up and kind of tell you maybe it helps to understand a little geography. This is Oklahoma City. In the 80s. I don't know when they started. I know that I personally bought a car there somewhere around 88, 89.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy experience as a car buyer. Just crazy. Other thing they used to do was this. Have you ever visited a dealership where you pulled up to like a kiosk, not a kiosk, but a little, a check-in gate like you would at a military gate?
No.
You pull up to a gate like that, a little, and there's an attendant, and they let you in and tell you where to park. And then there's tire shredders. You don't get back out.
Like at the airport.
Like at the airport when you return your rental car. There are tire shredders. So you don't get back out without somebody's permission. Literally at a car dealership.
Wow.
So it was nuts. Okay. So they had a circus-like atmosphere, balloons. They used to do.
People must have really enjoyed the experience, or they wouldn't.
Well, yes. I mean, I think that was a
coming.
curiosity thing. It was like the circus. Why would I want to go see the circus,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
And so
Take the kids.
yeah, and
enjoy.
and they have great
They
deals
have
on
popcorn.
cars. Yeah. So you can also do a Google search of a guy named Tom Park. So Tom Park was their TV personality, good-looking guy who maybe at that time, I think later definitely had his own marketing company, because I saw Tom Park on TV stations all over that part of the U.S. Throughout the 90s and maybe even into the 2000s. So if anybody knows that story and can tell me, what's still, Tom Park may still be out there. He's probably coloring his hair by now if he's still out on TV. But, he was really great as a TV personality. And then Lynn Hickey Dodge himself was a cowboy type. 10-gallon hat. I mean, really not too far from the Matt Dillons and John Wayne kind of characters. And when he would walk through the dealership, he was just this bigger than life character and was really just, imagine a scenario. So first I got to take you back to the car dealership. It was nothing special. The building was nothing special, good sized building. But, we're talking about Dodge and Chrysler products in the 80s. Okay. People weren't selling Dodge and Chrysler products in the 80s. This was probably pre-Lee Iacocca. This is about the time maybe he's coming in, but this was not a hot product. Okay. And when they their dealership again was nothing special, but when you visited their dealership, you felt like you're more like walking into like a county fair, like the concessions area at a county fair where they have the long 8-foot tables lined up. In rows of 8-foot tables. That was more the experience of the atmosphere.
So in essence, when people arrived, they knew they were like, this is, it's an afternoon activity. Let's go.
Yeah. And
let's go
it's
look at cars.
Little like herding cattle. I mean, and so here's this cowboy character. And keep in mind, again, I was there buying a car in the 80s and I'm sitting at a table and this cowboy, this tall cowboy with this huge hat walks through, and he'd step over to a table and talk to a salesperson. The salesperson said, "Well, you guys working there?" And, "Well, we're working at Dodge Dynasty." And he said, "Where are you at?" And he said, "Well, customer would like to be about, $15 a month lower on their payment." And he said, "Go ahead and do the deal. Drop their payment $15 and do the deal." And he'd walk on to the next table. And he'd talk to the salesperson and, what are we at with this thing? It was nuts. I mean, you just don't see that kind of stuff anymore for sure.
But it made people love him that much more.
Well,
I'm sure.
yeah, it was just, this is the part that I think is hard to have people understand. And the reason I tell the story is that they created this, if you can ever create what you might call a buying frenzy. Most of us understand the word frenzy from a shark frenzy, a feeding frenzy. If you think about a buying frenzy, they created it at Lynn Hickey Dodge. Now, again, I'm not saying that, we're in the buy here, pay here business. We have buy here, pay here dealers out there. They're mostly small. They're selling, 20 to 30 cars a month, and some of them sell hundreds. But Lynn Hickey Dodge, somewhere around 1995, maybe 94, sold 2,000 cars. I think the number is actually like 2,200 cars in a single month, in a single location. They used to get on the TV and they did live. They were one of the first ones I saw doing infomercial style live TV. It may also help to understand that Oklahoma City is the center of the state of Oklahoma, and it's the largest market. it had, the major TV stations. So when Lynn Hickey Dodge went on Oklahoma City TV Live, he was reaching every corner of Oklahoma, and most highways in Oklahoma lead to Oklahoma City. So that could have been a factor. I'm not sure, but certainly
didn't hurt.
No, it didn't hurt. And their ad style. So imagine now you got Tom Park coming on your TV, almost every TV break. They spent no telling how much money on TV even back then. Every TV break, basically, there was a live spot. Tom Park is out there walking in front of the cars and he said, folks, come see us. We got not one, not two, we got 257 Dodge Dynasties to choose from, and we got 22 acres of cars. Come see us, and we got payments at whatever. And he's promoting the whole thing, and they got balloons flying, and he's out there, even if it's blowing snow and balloons, bouncing around, he's out there live. Like we're right now. We're selling cars right now, come down and see us right now. And so you created that sort of urgency and that frenzy. And so I think this is the part of the marketing story that I just don't really see anybody. I don't see any businesses really doing this. I mean, because I would recognize it, and so these guys continue to now enter Evel Knievel. Somewhere around 1990, Lynn Hickey Dodge met Evel Knievel. And so now suddenly the live TV commercials started to include Evel Knievel. Folks, join us Saturday. We're going to blow up a car right here on the lot at Lynn Hickey Dodge. And they did. They blew up a car. So Lynn Hickey Dodge, Evel Knievel in a Dodge conversion van, hoisted up in the air. I
remember that's the one that I remember from the news.
Yeah. So they're hoisted up in the air, live TV. They've got, microphones and cameras up in this conversion van. They are drunk as skunks, live TV, and just telling stories and slurring their words and come see us and come buy a car. We're going to blow up a car. And they did. It was just a crazy atmosphere.
So I didn't live in Utah at the time, actually. I lived in Seattle.
Oh.
And so it got all the way to Seattle news.
Yeah. And I will try. If anybody listening has got information on this or can find something that I haven't been able to find over the years here and there when talking to a dealer, I will try to find some stuff on Google. There's just almost nothing out there.
Really interesting.
So there's a couple little stories, but keep in mind, the Chrysler Corporation sent somebody out to award Lynn Hickey with this. They actually have like a bust, almost like a big, marble kind of bust that you would see at a, museum or whatever. They awarded him with this bust of, sales record. And I'll bet last I knew that sales record still stood.
Never been broken.
2,200 cars in a single location. This was in the summer, somewhere in the early 90s, I think. Because again, I worked with some people. I'm trying to think of Bill's last name. I worked with a salesperson named Bill who worked over there, and he was the one who told all the stories, from inside about how they did what they did. But there were crazy stories about how, and this was not a one-off kind of story. It happened all the time that people would have to just call the police to get their trade back. Like they drove in a car that was going to be their trade. And they're working a deal and they're ready to leave and they cannot get anybody to get their keys back.
So we need to get to a moral of the story, because we're not encouraging dealers to go out there and try to sell 2,200 cars in a month. Because I'm sure that all of your heads are exploding thinking, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Honey, I'm not ready to get to the moral. There's way more to
wait,
tell.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. There is a lot to tell around that. But I think what you can see is that, again, we're not suggesting that every little small business would be a Lynn Hickey Dodge, or that any buy here, pay here dealership wants to be even a Lynn Hickey Dodge. But what you can learn from that story is that the way that they promoted their business, they stepped out of the comfort zone. They clearly went beyond what was the norm, in the way that they promoted a business. And so when you just talk about getting noticed, now again, Lynn Hickey must have been a fairly wealthy person to own 22 acres in the middle of Oklahoma City to begin with, and be able to buy all those ads and buy all those cars. Must have started out with some wealth. But beyond that, that alone wouldn't have helped them create what they created, because clearly the difference for them was stepping out from a marketing standpoint and being different.
And doing it fearlessly.
Being brave and fearless enough to do it differently. You're going to get And so they definitely got noticed, and they created that urgency, right? That's the part that I think is we're not effective enough. So much of what I see on advertising, especially in the car industry, is kind of just that almost white noise. It just all sounds the same. Everybody's selling the same. They're all selling cars, and they all got shiny cars, and look at our cars, and they're just, it all kind of sounds the same. And so from a marketing standpoint, I'm just saying, this is the importance to me of the Lynn Hickey Dodge story. It's like, go back and look and see what they did. Obviously there's a whole machine that they built, but the point is where it started was with marketing and creating urgency about, if you're going to buy a car, you're going to want to buy it at Lynn Hickey Dodge, and you're going to want to buy it now. Okay. So how do we create that level of urgency and action, in what we do, in our business? And so I think that's just an important thing to think about, and how can we incorporate that, and how can we sound different? Why are we afraid sometimes to step out there and be different? I think it helps us get noticed, and will you get it right the first time? Maybe not, but being different is totally okay. Especially in advertising, right?
Yeah.
Rise above the racket that is kind of everyday noise in buy here, pay here.
And understand too that we've seen some buy here, pay here dealers be very successful with commercials, but we live in an era that it is not hard to film something. I was joking around with I forgot who it was with, but Jim. I think it was Bill. Jim has a phone. He got one of the new Samsung, and it has 5 cameras on the back of it. I mean, if you want to do something that's 3D, that's got, whatever, the cameras nowadays do film quality. And so, it's not that hard to do something that's live, or something that's live, or something that's recorded, that you can put on different social medias. TikTok is a big one. People, if you're not doing TikTok, get yourself a TikTok account and start doing some of that. Instagram Reels, YouTube, all of these different things. And then you can, we've obviously have things like Facebook and all of that, but it's not hard to create just the actual marketing piece anymore. It's just, it's, as we talk to some dealers, it's like, oh, I don't feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
And I get that. If you're not used to that, I mean, a lot of people have this really, really, it's a real fear of speaking in public or whatever. This is not speaking in public. You don't have to be perfect. Just have some fun. And one of the things we teach our clients, we've been working on this new product called branding, or market and branding, or branding and market development. My goodness, it is early. I haven't had enough coffee. And so part of one of the exercises that we are having our client do is do little reels, do little videos, do little things that you're talking to the people and you're showing them the stuff. And it's just about those first things that he's throwing into a folder of practice. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be used, but it's getting him used to it.
Right.
And so, it sounds like, oh my gosh, that's so hard. Little steps. And it's, do 4 or 5 a week where you're just kind of having some fun, and then start throwing them out there.
Yeah. And we met with someone this week in Utah who we hope to have join our team, and we expect that'll happen. But in meeting with them, they come from a marketing background. They've got a really great head for business overall, but certainly their strength and their experience is heavily in marketing. And also before that, broadcasting, like they worked in the TV business and used to talk about in the news business that they wanted, what were the 3 things? They wanted it to be real, they wanted it to be raw, and relevant. Okay. Yeah. So again, that's news. But we can probably apply some of those same things to social media. So, I'm all the time showing you that somebody in, maybe they're on a farm in Iowa, and they started getting out on TikTok and Facebook Reels and whatever, and telling their story about their life in, farm country Iowa, and they've got 180,000 followers or something. It's like, you see that kind of stuff where people are creating their own content, they're building an audience, they're getting noticed, and there are lessons to be learned in that for all of us. And when we can make time to figure that out, what are they doing? Well, a lot of it is being real and raw. Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's entertaining, sometimes just fun, but they were both. In the case of Lynn Hickey Dodge, they were entertaining. You couldn't wait to see what kind of train wreck was coming next.
Yeah.
And the other part of this story I got to make sure we include, not long after they awarded that trophy to, or that bust to Lynn Hickey out there, I know that Dodge also showed up and said, you got to solve your service problem. You have outsold your service department. And, if you want to keep your Dodge brand, you got to solve the service thing. And so they actually had their service department open 24 hours a day. Like they agreed to have their service department open. So when's the last time you heard about that? A car dealership having their service department open like that, because they just couldn't keep up with the service, demands of having that many cars on the road. And there's a finance piece of this too. Lynn Hickey also created their own finance company because they had so many customers that couldn't qualify credit wise. And so they created their own finance company.
So it was one of the early, or one of the 80s buy here, pay here kind of. Kind of deals.
I think it was called Dakota Finance. Somebody can tell me if they're listening, can tell me whether that, but I want to say that was the name, but they started their own thing to try to do financing for all these deals that they were missing. And it's bound to be part of how they reached 2,200 sales,
Probably.
But you get the idea. It's like, it's, there's just a lesson to be learned in that. And I think the real lesson is kind of, being a little bit fearless, stepping outside of our comfort zone, being prepared to go out there and look a little different.
Yeah.
And get noticed in the course of doing that. And
just stepping out of your comfort zone, I think, is like, that's a huge step for a lot of dealers. I wanted to kind of circle back to, there's one thing about creating content so that you're being seen and doing those kind of commercial things. If you want to create urgencies, there's, if you're, hey, it's a holiday weekend, it's a whatever, you can create those short commercials, throw them out everywhere on Facebook and say, hey, we've got whatever food truck out here today, and come on out and grab a hot dog on us. And if you come out today, we're going to give you a voucher for X amount of dollars off of whatever, or something along that lines. But it's like, today is the day. People, come on out, come and join us. Grab a hot dog or a burrito or something like that. Bring the kids. We're going to have even if you like, we're going to have a bounce house. How expensive is a bounce house anymore? Not very expensive at all to rent for the day.
No,
whatever.
The expensive part is the business liability.
True. But the point is that when you, especially when you can advertise something like, there's plenty of food trucks out there looking for a place to park themselves during certain hours of the day. You put up the flags, come get a whatever. And then even people that are not seeing you on social media are seeing you from the street. And this is something very different than just a relining of cars.
Right.
This is like, there's an event and there's a level of fear of missing out that happens to everyone. When you see, it's like when you're driving down the road and you see the fair, you see something that's different. It's like, oh, I want to go there.
Yeah.
And so, creating that, some kind of like an event as well on your dealership that has some, curb appeal.
Yeah. And I would say, we all have the platforms. I mean, most of us have a Facebook account, it's easy enough to get to YouTube, which the point there is you can also go live, and maybe you don't start there, but here Michelle and I are broadcasting live across 4 platforms this morning. And so it's possible, and we've got less than $2,000 invested in all of our equipment, but still, you could do it with a cell phone, even
and we could do camera as well if we wanted to.
Yeah, we're just not ready for that. And you're not ready for that. Our listeners and audience, you're not ready. So bottom line is, if you're a car dealer or any other kind of business, you can go live. You just obviously need to have something that's relevant and entertaining, and so you can totally go there if you're just comfortable doing it. We meet a lot of people who are not comfortable doing what we're doing, as an example. But that's kind of the point, is if you step out there, you can create this audience, and that can be part of your marketing strategy. We'll talk in future episodes about the whole marketing strategy that Michelle and I have kind of created, and we've just recently, constructed in the form of a course. And we don't talk about the Lynn Hickey thing like in that extreme. It's more about, how to tell your own story and first write your own story, you know, and all these kind of things, and then how to go forward and tell that. So,
and we're going to actually, which is a really great segue. We're going to be speaking at TIADA, and we're going to be going into this a little bit more, a very applicable level for all of the dealers out there. So if it's, you know, something that you like, telling your story and stepping forward fearlessly as well. But if besides that, if this is something that appeals to you and you'd like a little bit of help in getting started, it's like, where do I start? What? Feel free to reach out to us. It's really, really, it's been beautiful as we've done this broadcasting, that, you know, the day of needing to have a crew, needing to have a lot of money behind you to be able to be live, to be on television, to be on radio, to all of that kind of stuff, that the entry level is so low now. And people, you know, you get to have a voice really, really easily now. And so there are a lot of, there's a lot of stuff that we could, if you're interested in getting involved in doing stuff like that, then, you know, give us a holler. We'd be happy to point you in the right direction. And that, branding and market development course, I think that we'll have that probably ready pretty close to TIADA. So we might be able to speak to it a little bit more, but it was pretty cool to the person that we've got working in there. It's just been really neat to watch a shift. So again, for those of you who are listening live, or you'll find this broadcast recorded, if you know anything, if you have any history or can find anything about the Lynn Hickey Dodge story, anything to add there, please throw that out there. Some videos, the crazy YouTube stuff. I'll try to find those myself and throw it in there. Everybody has stuff, you know, that they've recorded. It's like, oh, I have that, and it might be something from their VC or their camcorder. You remember?
It's like, of course.
Whatever. So if you got something like that, we would love to see it, because he was nuts. Like, again, Oklahoma City, Seattle, Washington. We saw it on the news.
And most of us heard about the Go See Cal guy out of California. They were a thing like that as well. So but I just happened to live in Oklahoma, watched the firsthand, you know, saw the TV spots, or the infomercial style commercials, and just watched what they created, you know, and something massive in a matter of short period of time. So again, it's a marketing lesson to be learned. So and by the way, Michelle was talking about my camera my phone with multiple cameras. All I did was I walked into the local, you know, phone store, my self provider, and I said, I need a phone that has more cameras than my wife's iPhone. That's all I'm interested in. Whatever you got.
I haven't upgraded mine yet, so I'm sure the moment that I do, it'll be like, oh, there are 6. Because and those of you who know us know that we are a mixed family. I'm an Apple.
I'm Mac, PC, Android.
And so we take every opportunity to point out the faults of the other. And
your phone won't do that?
That's too bad.
That's a shame. Look at how I do this with the stylus.
I know, right. So again, TIADA is happening towards the end of the month. I think we've got
24th is Sunday. It starts.
It's like 2 weeks. You can go ahead and register for that. I know the room blocks there at the Kalahari are booked, but anyone from any state is welcome to come and join them. This conference is known as one of the best for buy here, pay here education, because they're like really heavy on buy here, pay here dealers in the state of Texas. So if you are coming if we know you or if we don't know you, come up and introduce yourself. Because like I said, we'll be there. We're speaking on the Monday on business planning. And then Jim is going to be moderating a dealer panel with some really fantastic dealers.
Looking forward to that.
All across the country.
I got to say a quick hello to Michael Gray. I see that Michael Gray tuned in. Michael, I'm glad to have you in here. I hope you were able to stay in and hear the nonsense of the Lynn Hickey Dodge story. And I hope you can understand how that ties to what you do in the marketing world.
Right
So,
on.
cool.
Right on. So, have yourself a great weekend. We're really glad that you joined us. And, again, if there's ever anything that we can help you with, we do implementation and planning and all of those kind of things. And we know, like we've said before, is that we're always out there teaching, and we do it freely because we feel like, all ships rise. Everyone's going to be improved by learning things. And what we do is we help you put together all the pieces,
Right.
and we help you implement the pieces. So if there's anything we can do to help you in that, please don't hesitate to call and or reach out to us, and hope that you have a fantastic weekend, and we will talk to you all on Monday.
Have a good weekend.